This is episode number 78 at the BS Machine. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Hope you've had an interesting week. I certainly have, and I'm going to talk about it on this podcast. And hopefully, we all learn something. I think you will. It's been a pretty messed up week for me, to be honest. But it's come with a lot of waves, up and down, up and down. But the purpose of this podcast is to bring some light onto bringing a baby into the world, but also looking at it, I guess, from a male perspective and what men actually go through. And so, yeah, this podcast is basically around what actually men experience when they go through a miscarriage with their partner, and the reason I can talk about that is because I basically just went through that in this past week. So for those of you listening, look, to be honest, I'm just going to give you my story and how it all sort of went down and my experience. And if you're a dude listening to this, and I think if you're if you're a woman listening to this, it might be a good opportunity to send it on to some guys that you think might benefit. But me personally, I came at this whole thing of bringing a baby into the world. Like I never actually thought that it would actually happen, and so. The age I am now, I was almost indifferent to whether I was going to have a kid, not have a kid. And I guess I was lucky enough to meet someone that where I was like, you know what, I can definitely see myself having a child with this person, my beautiful partner, Nicola. And things went really quick for us. I mean, we've only known each other for 9 or 10 months or whatever. And it was just like meet, sparks flew. We're just like, cool, let's go. I moved in, we bought a house, and it's just all fucking happened in such a short amount of time. And it's been an incredible journey. And then obviously the next part to it was, and you know what, I think it's also comes with age, doesn't it? That when you're older, when you just know, you're just like, you know what, why waste time? Like, let's just fucking go for it. Let's just do it. You know, we all feel good about it. Me and you, as in me and my partner Nick, we're feeling good about it. We love each other. We can see a life together. So I guess the next part to the process would be bringing a kid into the world. She's always wanted a little bundle of joy, and I myself have played with the idea, but I've never sort of landed in a place in life where I felt like I've been ready. And I don't know if you especially from men or from dudes or whatever. I don't know if dudes are ever ready. Like I think they just sort of land, and if their partner becomes pregnant or whatever, you're just like, all right, well, I guess this is happening now. And that's sort of exactly what happened with me. And I didn't want to generalize. I'm just sort of talking about where I was at. And so the way the way that it sort of happened is me and Nick were just sort of we weren't planning on it, but we also weren't being careful, you know. So there was a couple of times where I was just like, you know what, this feels too good. I'm just gonna drop the load straight in and see what happens. And sure enough, and you know what, it was like. It actually happened. I mean, me and Nick were, we go for runs on the beach together, and we're running on the beach, and she's like, babe, I've got a stitch. And I haven't had a stitch since I was like 15. I'm like, okay. And then the other thing was I don't know, we came home and we ate, and then she threw up. I was like, all right, babe, I'm going to get a pregnancy test. And so I got 3 of them, and the first one was like really faint. And then I'm like, and Nick was just, she's a lawyer, so she's super, super busy at work. And she's like, you know what, it's faint, we're probably not pregnant. And I'm like, inside, I'm like, babe, I'm pretty sure we're fucking pregnant. And then we did another test the next day, and that was just like, you're pregnant. And me and Nick are just like, what the fuck is going on? And for me, from a male perspective, the first thing I thought of was like, holy shit, my swimmers work. I felt really good about it, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like this shit actually works, and I'm man enough to bring a baby into the world, and it felt really really good. I was really sort of chuffed with myself, and then I guess from that point on, the way that I experienced it from a male perspective is the moment that I realised that we're going to bring a baby into the world. A lot of things shifted for me. I was sort of looking way into the future. Like I was basically planning the next 15, 20 years of my life of having a kid, and I'm like, all right, we're bringing a kid into the world. And so I've got to look after my family. And so I was looking around at my life and this, I guess this circle of life, and I was just sitting there going, all right, Tom, like you're gonna have to change some shit. You're gonna have to change some shit up. Like you can't just, you can't just go free balling everywhere you go now. You've got to think about your family, and you got to provide for your family. So lots of things really shifted for me, and that I was really blessed about, because everything I started looking at very differently, and it was a really really cathartic experience for me, because I just sort of sat back and I became really protective of this little container of my family, and I started seeing Nick and my potential little baby as my little sacred little unit that I'm going to have for the next 15, 20 years, and it was such an incredible feeling. And as each day went past, it was very different experience for me and Nick, because Nick, she didn't have morning sickness, she had like all fucking day sickness, like from morning to night. She was just, poor thing. Like I really felt for her, and she was, just feeling sick. Like she literally was just trying to survive every single day, and for me, I was getting more and more excited, and she was getting sicker and sicker, and she's just like, babe, I don't know what else to do. Like, and imagine her. She's a lawyer. She's got God knows how many clients, and her clients are ringing her. She's getting 100 emails a day, and she's like, guys, can you all fuck off? Like, I'm literally just trying to survive each breath. The poor thing. And from a guy's perspective, it was actually, I never knew what women actually go through to actually bring a baby into the world. And I was just like, fuck, man, this is crazy. And if you think about it, it's like women, they grow another human being inside their bits, and so they have to support, they have to give energy to this little human that's growing inside them. And at the same point, somehow still fucking carry on with life. And then here's me dancing around like a fucking hero, going, yay, my swimmers work. And, but then what do? Like, Nick's feeling like shit, and, she's just struggling. And I'm like, how do I help her? There's nothing I could do to help her. And that felt really shit, because I just wanted her to feel the excitement that I was feeling, where she was just trying to get through every fucking hour every day. And it made me really respect women, and well, especially Nick, because she's so resilient, that woman. My God, she can get through fucking anything, and for her to be like that, I was just like, wow, man, like this must be a fucking shit time. And so through that whole process, there was a few things going on for me. I didn't know shit about pregnancy. I never looked into it. I never Googled it. I never really cared. I was just like, you know what? If it happens, someone gets pregnant, they just fucking have a kid. It takes 9 months, pops out, and then you're a dad and you're a mum, and then you go on. I never looked into how much it would actually take to bring a baby into this world, and what it actually takes. And I just thought, I thought the reason that you don't tell people for the first trimester, or the first 12, 13 weeks, was because you don't tell people, because it's like, I mean, I just didn't even think why you wouldn't tell people. So I just didn't really think about it. I just thought you don't tell people because it's like a surprise at second trimester. It's like, yeah, we're pregnant. But I didn't actually understand or realize that miscarriages are so fucking rampant. Like, man, it's, and then when people started telling me, don't, like, you got to be careful. You have to be super careful for the first 12 weeks. Like, she can't do this. You have to do this and this and that and that. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, dude, she's pregnant. She's going to be fine. And so me being me and being super excited, the amount of times I, saw people and I was like, look, don't tell anyone, but we're 5 weeks pregnant. Don't tell anyone, but we're 6 weeks pregnant. Don't fucking tell anyone, but we're 7 weeks pregnant. And so, I mean, I didn't tell the whole world. Obviously, I didn't go posting it on Instagram or socials or anything. But, when I saw people that I trusted and people that I like, and if it sort of came up, I was like, oh, guess what? I'm going to be a fucking dad. And I started getting so excited. And I just wanted that 9-month mark to come. I had this vision of seeing that the baby popping out of Nick and me just giving it this big fucking cuddle and having just the love that you would feel. And I was really looking forward to. I got to this point where I was really genuinely looking forward to bringing a baby into the world. And I just thought that with Nick, she'll just go through this first 3 months, and then from then she'll, because everyone said you start feeling better after the first 3 months. First 3 months, which is the first trimester. Anyway, from a guy's perspective, you don't. It's like you're just an observer. You're sort of just trying to go, okay, cool. Well, what can I do? And you sort of feel helpless, because through the pregnancy and through the first 3 months, you see your woman, you see your partner just fucking struggling, and you don't know what to do. It's really hard. And then even their hormones are going crazy. But you know what I found out, which actually happened with me, is that when your partner is pregnant, men's hormones actually get affected too. It's really interesting. You can read up on it, but basically, when you're close to your woman and she's pregnant and she's carrying a baby and going through whatever, our fucking hormones change as well. As in men's hormones change as well. Our testosterone levels go up, down, whatever, and the whatever other hormones. The hormones just kick in and go crazy. But even for us dudes. So I found myself being quite hormonal as well, which was really interesting. And I guess for me it was more so a level of I felt like a little bit helpless, because I'm like, how do I plan for this thing? And then the other parts of me was like, fuck, I've heard so many horror stories about miscarriages, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to talk about it, because then I might happen, and then I don't want to not talk about it because I want to find out what's going on and whatever. And then I'm like, fuck, I don't want to tell people. But then when I saw people, like, fuck, man, the amount of people I saw with kids and babies, I was asking all the questions. Like, I'd be getting my coffee and I'd see, friends or whatever with kids, or I'd see people I know, or even people I didn't know. I'd just see, mums pushing prams or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, how old's your little one, eh? And then I'd say, oh, well, I've got one of those on the way, like a proud little potential dad. And yeah, so I was going through this level of excitement and wanting to find out more and whatever. And so there was so many incredible, I guess, lessons in there. And the biggest thing me and Nick wanted to know, both of us wanted to know, is it going to be a boy or a girl? So we were so excited about our first scan, and we actually got a blood test. We got the blood test at like whatever it was, 7 weeks or whatever, and the blood test came back totally perfect. And it was, the blood test basically came back as you've got a healthy pregnancy and you've got nothing to worry about. And I think that was like at 7 weeks or whatever. And then and so I was like, all right, cool. Guess I'm gonna be a daddy-o. And then the next part was, we just wanted to sort of know whether the baby was going to be healthy or not, and also we we really wanted to know whether it's a boy or a girl. And I know some people don't want to find out, but we were like, fuck that. We both want to know because we want to start planning. And as you know, 9 months goes super quickly, and so we both wanted to know whether it's a boy or a girl. And this is the thing, what I find. I mean, men, I reckon, would have such a different experience than women, and for the reason being is that we don't actually know what women are going through, so we just sort of dance around and have our own experience. And I'm just assuming if you're a dude, that I'm just assuming that if you're a dude, you want a kid if you're listening to this. And also, whether you've had a kid or you want a kid, or maybe you've been through a miscarriage or whatever. But yeah, it is. It's a very different experience, and I really did notice the massive differences between, I guess, being a man and being a woman, and so. It is, and so basically the next part of the process was, I think we're due for our 10, or we thought we were at like 10 or 11 weeks, and so yeah, so we went for our scan for the 10 or it was like 10 or 11 weeks. We thought we were 10 or 11 weeks or whatever, and then we're both excited to go for that scan because we were going to find out. We're just going to find out, is it a healthy baby? It's our first scan. We're going to see that little thing on the screen and whatever. So me and Nick, we go to our, we go to the scan, and interestingly enough, we got there, and neither of us, we were both just like, oh my God, let's just get in there. As far as we knew, everything was fine. And also, let me just add in, a couple of days before our scan, Nick just started feeling totally fine. She had all this energy. She was feeling good. She was hungry again. She's basically lost most of her morning sickness. And we just thought, oh yeah, cool, we must be close to the 12-week mark. So we're just going to, she's past her morning sickness. And so we went in for the scan, and as soon the chick rubs the that oil stuff on, or the gel stuff, so she can see what's going on. And she saw, and then basically she put the thing on Nick's belly, and as soon as the picture came up, me and Nick were like, oh, it doesn't look right, does it, bub? And we didn't say anything. And then the lady was asking, all these questions. She was like, oh, how many weeks pregnant are you? And Nick said, 11, 10 or 11, or maybe even 12, we're not sure. And she's like, oh, guys, look, this looks like a 7-week pregnancy. And we're just like, and we both sort of had this sinking feeling that something's not right. Something's not right. Something just doesn't feel right in there. And so, and then she kept asking all these other questions. And then she basically said, look, this is borderline, because she took the measurements of the placenta, or the little bubble or whatever that they live in, and she's like, this is not looking good. Anyway, she walks out. She's like, look, I'm going to send these scans off to your doctor. I'll be back in a second. And she walks out, and the door's wide open, and I just see all these people walking around, and Nick, of course, she just lost it, starts crying, the poor thing, and I felt so shit. So then I start bawling, me and Nick are just hugging on the bed. It was such a hard moment, and then I went and closed the door because it just pissed me off that there was people just walking around outside, and it was so I can't tell you the feeling of it was just a feeling of wasn't disappointment. It's like, oh man, I was really looking forward to this, and then both of us were so sad. It was hard. It was a fucking tough thing to go through. And then the chick that took the scan, she walks back in, she sees us crying, she starts fucking crying. We're just like, oh my God, that was just not fun at all, that whole experience. And then we sort of gathered ourselves together and walked out. And she got a blood test as well, just to make sure, but it was pretty much, I was holding on to hope. But Nick knew. She's like, babe, I know. It's done. And so we went through the whole other miscarriage, that she had to go get this procedure done and whatever else. But look, this isn't a story of sadness. It's more just so an understanding of what men sort of experience on the other side. And I think it's sometimes really overlooked of what might happen from a guy's perspective of how they experience this stuff. And it was, and of course, I mean, man, women who actually go through and carrying a baby, like it's just heartbreaking to see, what Nick went through. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone, because, I just wanted to save her and take her pain away, and I couldn't do that, and that was quite it was disappointing, but at the same point, afterwards, with I guess on reflection with me and Nick, and when we talked about it, I guess for me personally, I wasn't that attached to the actual baby itself, because I didn't have an actual attachment to it. All I had an attachment to is the fact that I'm going to be a dad, and I was looking forward to all these things that were unfolding in the future. It was more so, for me, it was losing that sort of dream and looking forward to all that stuff, and now not being able to experience it, or now having this fear of like, fuck man, so what does this mean? Does this mean I'm never going to have a kid? Does this mean that, if we try again at some point, is it going to be, well, we are going to try again, just an FYI, but when we try again, is it going to be the same thing? We go through all this excitement. It's almost like, it's fucking scary, because it's like, well, why is this happening? And you want to know answers, and no one fucking tells you anything. And it's so interesting also that what I noticed about Nick, about her experience through this, and this is just me being an observer, is that, fuck me, like, women are so intuitive. They're so in touch with their body when they choose to be. They just know what's going on within the body. And I really learned that from watching Nick go through this whole process. And also, obviously, it's not nice seeing someone that you love and that you see a life with being so sad and losing out on stuff. It's fucking tough, man. And so from a guy's perspective, it becomes almost like a super nurturing experience, because you become this protector. You just want to protect your woman, and it also becomes more, it brings up in you this level of seeing the future. But also, there's a guy, I don't know if guys, if you're listening, if you've ever read this book by David Dieter, it's called The Way of the Superior Man, and I've read that a few times. It's such an epic book, but for men, such an incredible book. But it's got to do with this whole thing of learning how to hold space for your woman, and what he talks about is that women are like, they're up, they're down, they're going off, they're loving, they're fucking angry, they're this, they're that. And for us men, we have to have this ability to hold space regardless of where women are at, or what they're expressing at you. And that's one of the hardest thing to do as a man, is that, especially when you see a woman going through, well, it's not my woman, that I don't like the saying that, but it's more so when you're seeing your partner, your woman, you become this protection mechanism, and you want to take their pain away, but really you can't. All you can really do is just hold this safe container for them to know that you're always going to be there for them. And that's the tough thing. And sometimes men, go into blaming themselves or blaming other people or whatever else it might be. But it's not about that. It's just being able to create this really cool container where your family is there. And I'm really, this all just happened in the last 7 days, so I'm quite still quite, it's still quite fresh for me, because one, I didn't realize that 1 in 4 or 1 in 3, it's like 30 something percent of pregnancies end up in miscarriage. That's fucked up. Surely that's not what it's always been like. Like, surely I don't know what it used to be like, but I can't imagine that's there's got to be some. I mean, we've got to start fucking looking after ourselves as humans, because I just reckon that's just ridiculous. Like, how can 30 something percent of pregnancies go to miscarriage? And even the woman that did the scan, she's like, yeah, all my friends tell me how lucky I am to do this job. And she's like, this is like, I have to do this and I have to see this pain 1 out of every 4 scans, like that, or even 1 out of every 3 scans. She's like, that's not fun. And she was so wonderful, so beautiful. She saw our pain and our disappointment. But from a guy's perspective, man, we have to appreciate what women go through, what our partners go through to actually bring a baby into the world. It's some serious shit. I had no idea that what it takes to actually grow another human being. Like, man, it's unbelievable. So then, as men, then after the miscarriage happens, then, Nick right now, she's going through some, it's scary for her, because she's like, oh my God, what if I have to go through all this fucking morning sickness and this and that, and then it doesn't work again, And so it's a big thing, I mean, it's not as easy as just, sticking your dick in and dropping a load and then you're going to have a kid. I mean, there's obviously a lot more to it, and it also comes back down to focus, doesn't it? I mean, I know with me, as soon as I found out about this 1 in 4, this is even before we had the miscarriage, I was talking like that. Like, that was one of the biggest things, the biggest learning experiences for me, is it's not about not focusing on what's the reality out in the world, because that is the reality. And I've also heard of incredible stories of women having 6 or 7 miscarriages, and they just keep going and going until they have their little bundle of joy. And that is incredible, so powerful. And it makes me respect the feminine body, the human body, but especially the feminine body so much more. And so one of the biggest learnings that I got out of it was to be able to, one, learn how to hold space for your little fam bam, for your family. Well, first you have to choose your family, but then learning how to hold a really safe container for your family. And then also choosing to focus on the great things, and not to have this fear around what if. I mean, look, if the what if happens, then you deal with it then, just like we have dealt with it. But what about really focusing on creating an environment for you and your woman to really be able to nurture each other, nurture yourself, because you have to nurture yourself through this whole process. And if you're not, for a guy, you can't just go, oh, I'll just wait around until the baby fucking pops out and let my chick go through shit. No, you've got to be there. You've got to hold space. You've got to be there, and you've got to go through this exactly like your partner is. Obviously, you can't hold their pain or whatever, or take away their morning sickness, but men got to be there. You got to fucking step up and be there. So look, I don't want to go about it too more, and I don't want to, it was basically just an experience that I've had this week, and it was, and I got a lot of learnings from it, and me and Nick together got a lot of the learnings, and she also got a lot of learnings as well, which I'm not going to speak for her. She had her own experience and her own aha moments, I guess, through this whole process. But for me, the key takeaways for me is that it feels fucking good to step into that place of holding a really protective container and creating like this nice protection unit for your family. And you got to choose who your family is. And once you have that, then you want to make every choice you make is to make sure that that you yourself are nurtured, your family is nurtured. So, for us guys, we've got to make sure that we learn how to hold that container incredibly well. And other than that, I really feel empathy for people that have gone through miscarriages in the past. I've heard about it and I was like, oh fuck, well that sucks. But now that I've actually been through it myself, it actually does fucking suck. It's a really shitty experience. But then, we're excited to bring a bundle of joy into this world, and we are going to do it. But now we're going to do it in a little different way. We're actually going to prepare properly. And so, you know what? One of the other things I learned is I'm fucking ready to be a dad. Like let's do this shit. I want a little bundle of joy. And that's what happens. When you actually decide on something, that shit happens. So I'm fucking excited to bring that in. And you know what? In 20 or 30 episodes time, I'll be doing another episode on what it's like to be a dad. That'd be cool. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. And if you think anyone should or would get something out of this, feel free to share this podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. You can just share it. You know how to share it. We're even on YouTube. So if you want to see my fluffy hair yapping on YouTube, it's basically the BS Machine on YouTube as well. But otherwise, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys are doing what you're doing, creating and getting on with it and doing shit and not looking for excuses. And I love your guts, and thank you for listening, and I'll catch you later.